Welcome back everybody. Today we're gonna play Harbor on Sunset. Today is day 116 of playing every agent on every map. Today's agent Harbor is one of the weirdest agents in the game and most people don't really know how to smoke with him. But I think on a map like Sunset he can be used pretty well, especially with his cascade, being able to block off mid almost every round, also being able to do a lot of aggressive plays, also a lot of good defensive plays, and he is one of the best agents to retake a site with, which is pretty good on a map like Sunset. Starting off with A site defense. Something I really like doing when I'm playing A-side defense is to play right here on a harbor. You can play close here, destroy the cam if there's a cypher cam coming, or you can just wait and have your wall out right away. As soon as you hear any steps, you're gonna use a wall like this one that goes through main and also through tiles and mid. This allows your team to take space in mid, allows your team to take space in A main. The thing I really like doing is then going right here in this corner or play somewhere around here. Anyone that is walking through is going to take a lot of damage. If they're going for the orb, I just spam it around where the orb is. And in general, it is pretty easy for me to defend a site like this, even if they go elbow. If they go elbow and I have a teammate in there, I can use a cascade like this to stop the enemies from coming in or slow them. Or if I don't have a teammate there, I can use a cascade over there, stop it at the right time to make it harder for the enemies to come in and defend a site by myself almost. The other really good thing about this wall is that it blocks off mid. If you do it every round, you can have teammates that go through mid, take this space right here, or you can have no teammates doing that at all. But at some point, they're not going to expect your team to do that, and then your team, when your team does it, you can get a lot of value out of it. If they are coming A, I try to go for one kill and then I go back and wait for my team to retake the site. On retakes, I like to use my wall either through here in main, or if I go through CT, I try to get over towards the other side, fight the people here with pre-fires, maybe even with a cascade, like this. Clear out the close corners, stop it around here, and then use a wall like this one to block off main and block off the elbow area. With a wall like this one, you pretty much have all of the angles covered. You can then retake the site and go for a defuse. It is really good to go for a defuse on a harbor because you have a harbor bubble, the cove, which is impenetrable by shots. So the enemies have to use some util to get you off of the spike. And in general, it makes a lot of pressure on the enemies, and the enemies do stupid decisions, and your team can profit off of that. Other than that, if they are not coming A, I just rotate over towards B or just hold A in a pretty passive angle, get information over people in main, and then just wait for my team to come if they are coming A and play for a retake. Switching over towards mid, what you can do on mid also almost every round is send in a cascade down towards bottom mid. You can then decide to go either walk down mid, get into a lot of different off angles. You can get into these boxes right there, especially if you have a chamber that has a TP right here. You can play in these boxes and then basically just hold all of this, even if he has closed the door. Same thing also with Yoru. Or if you have a Yoru, a Chet, or a Neon, they can walk all the way down here to the tiles area with a wall like this. Same thing also with the wall I showed you from A. On B, it is the spot I usually don't really play that often on a harbor. If I do, I try to stop the enemies from coming in this way. I'm gonna use a wall from here, over, and then over again. So I have like a 2-wall gap in between the enemies and me. I can go in here, get a kill, go back, I am hidden behind the wall. If my wall fades, I can just use another wall right here and stop the enemies from coming in like this. In general, this is a pretty strong setup. You can just kind of recycle walls. As soon as your cascade goes down again, you can use another cascade. And then you can use another wall. Because your wall has recharged. Like this. In general, there's a lot of different ways to just stop the enemies from coming in and stall the enemies for almost over a minute on a harbor. Same thing also here on the doors. If you're playing in this area, you can use a wall here towards main if you want a wall for main. Or you can even use a wall like this to kind of cut off main and give your teammates the option to go for this orb right here in main. And kind of also cut off the area right here at the door. Also, just closing the door is not really that bad of an idea. If you're going for a retake on B side, I recommend you come from backside. You can then use a wall either towards main. Kind of go out with wall at the same time because you kind of isolate different angles. You can clear out here close, you can clear out this corner close, you can then use another cascade towards main, even use another wall towards main to just wall them off. Even if they're going for spam, it isn't really the greatest thing they can do, and you can always just use a cascade and go for the defuse. which is a pretty good thing I always recommend you go for, because a harbor ult is insanely good for retaking a site. As you can see here, if we want to retake B site, I can use a ult like this one that will firstly clear out all of the backside, then it will go slowly towards main and make it really hard for the enemies to stay on site, and it will cover almost all of the spaces in main as well. Now switching over towards attack. On attack on A side, you can use a cascade like this to smoke off the main normal choke with stopping it right here. It will go right there, and usually it is a pretty good smoke. And if you want to smoke A as a harbor, there's one pretty good way you can do that from mid. You kind of have to worry about not peeking out right here to not be open towards the people in top mid. You can use a wall like this one, curve it over, and then use it like this. It will allow the enemies to walk out of CT right here into this corner, however, but it is pretty good to get out of the elbow choke and also to get out of the main choke with a wall like this one. Other than that, you can then go late main, get the ult orb right here, and get the ult. It is a pretty strong thing you can do on a harbor. Again, Harbor's ult is really good for taking sides. You can see all of A side is covered by Harbor's ult. And even if you use it like all the way back here, you get most of the people that are trying to go through elbow or through A main. Other than that, the other options for using a wall is one like this. This wall is not the greatest one because it kind of cuts yourself off of main, but if you are one way right here and they just keep renewing this one way, you can also just use a wall like this. It will allow the enemies, however, to walk out here and then decide to spam to the side. Other than that, you can again use a harbor bubble here on the side and go for a plant, either over here or on the default plant spot, or even in front of here. With just having a bubble, it makes it pretty hard to get spammed, and most of the times you can get your plant down in pretty simple ways. Now switching over to something I like to do almost every round here in mid, is I almost start every round off by using a cascade towards top mid. Either from here, or from the other side here on A. This one right here is not perfect, I know. But you usually stop it right here in the top mid area, so you have the option to walk up mid to do a lot of take a lot of map control, and also deny the enemies the option to take the mid space. This is really strong, and if you want to take mid even further, you can use another wall like this. And even if you want to take B from their spawn, you can use a wall like this one and wall yourself off like this. As soon as this wall drops, you can then take this space right here. Maybe you have somebody holding this wall. You can take the B space from behind, even have teammates going through market, maybe somebody lurking through main, and two people going through Bova all the way from behind to have a really easy time on taking the B side. Same thing can also be done on A. You just have to wall the other side from right here and wall off like this. Both of these options are pretty strong and make it pretty hard for the enemies to hold the mid space. If you want to go mid towards B, you can also use a wall like this one to wall off the CT area and the area right here as well, with just one singular wall. And if you want to resmoke either one of the areas, you can then use another cascade like this, or a cascade right here. And then you can go for a free plant. You can also go for the really good plant over here, the easy spam plant, or you can even go for the plant right here, which is kind of open, but it is open towards market and it is open towards main. So if you have a lot of teammates in market or somebody that's late lurking through market, it can be pretty strong. Switching over to its B side now. On B side, you can take this orb right here, get your ult, and then you can use a wall like this through the normal smoke right here. Make sure to also get this corner, else there can be somebody in this corner hiding. With a harbor wall, it is pretty hard for them to get out, because if they wait like right here and all the way in the corner, they're gonna get slowed as soon as they walk away, and you can easily spray them. But most of the times, just walling through this and then walling through the CT area is pretty simple. Especially if you have an ult, you can take the site pretty easily and make it almost impossible for the enemies to hold the site. So you use the wall, use your ult, you go to the site, you go for a plant, and you get another ult orb, and then you can go for a good post-plant spot, for example towards backside, even have higher lowers with some of your teammates, and in general have a really easy time holding the site. You can then decide to resmoke either backside like this, or you decide to resmoke here on market with a wall like this. And even if you have another wall, you can just either wall like this, or decide to go back towards main and play for spam and wall like you would normally on a harbor, like this. The thing is, Harbor's walls are pretty hard to control, but once you have gotten that down, I think Harbor is probably one of the better smokes agents to play. The only thing you're going to struggle at with a Harbor is you can't really smoke off things really quickly. So for example, if the enemies are going through market, you're over towards A, you're gonna have a pretty long time to get a smoke right here, and also your smokes are not the greatest one to just instantly place. So if you're playing a Harbor, if you it is possible to play a Harbor solo on this map. I did it a couple of times before. I won most of my games because especially on attack, Harbor is really strong. But if you want to play a Harbor and don't have your teammates tilt, I recommend you have another teammate that plays, for example, a Clove or a Omen to just give your team also normal smokes, and you're responsible for the most like retake smokes and for the side take smokes. If I had to give Harbor a rating from S to F, I'd actually give him the A tier. I know he can smoke all over the map, but his ability to retake sites or to take sites is insanely good, and you can win almost any game on a Harbor on a map like Sunset. You need to know how to smoke, however, and you need to communicate well with your team in order for you to win the game. But most of the times, if you can do that, you will win the game, and you will also kind of tilt the enemies because they do not expect a Harbor on a map like Sunset. That would be it from me. If you want to see any other agents on any other maps, write them down in the comments. And if you want to see anything else Valorant related, write it down there as well. And as always, don't forget to like and sub, and come say hi to me on Twitch, where I stream almost daily. Have a great rest of your day, and see you guys very soon. Bye!